Look, man, Martin wasn't just a sitcom. It was chaos disguised as comedy. Scripts getting thrown out mid-scenes, co-stars refusing to work together. Real-life drama threatened to shut the whole thing down. And somehow, while all that was happening behind the scenes, America was laughing every single Thursday night. And even crazier, it still became one of the greatest 90s sitcoms of all times.
Give me love.
So today, we're breaking down the top 10 things I'm sure you didn't know about the Martin sitcom.
Sit back, relax, and watch a true player from the Himalayas.
Martin Lawrence didn't just star in Martin. He was half the show. Over 5 seasons, he played 10 different characters. Not just Martin Payne, but Sheneneh Jenkins, Mama Payne, Jerome, Dragonfly Jones, and a whole line of personalities that felt like completely different people. And it wasn't just quick cameos either. In one episode, Martin played 6 different characters in the same 30 minutes. 6. Different voices, different body language, different costumes. At that point, it wasn't even a sitcom anymore. It was a one-man show on a network budget. And the crazier part, some viewers didn't even realize it was him. That's how deep he disappeared into each role. One of the most iconic characters on Martin might not be completely original. Now, this is where things get a little messy. Comedian Bill Bellamy once shared a story that made a lot of fans look at Sheneneh a little different. According to him, before the show really took off, Martin Lawrence seen another comedian, Derek Fox, performing a character named Shantae.
Derek Fox, Jersey comedian. Now,
I'm wondering if you're going where you're going.
He would do his whole show. He would close with
Shantae.
Similar attitude, similar energy, same kind of loud, unapologetic personality.
As a matter of fact, you so ugly that when you cry, your tears go down the back of your head because they scared to come down your face, okay?
The story goes, Martin liked the character so much that he even talked to Fox about possibly bringing it to television.
He expressed that, and he also talked to me about writing for his show that was going to be on Fox called Martin.
But things didn't work out. Deals fell through, conversation stopped. And not long after that, Sheneneh Jenkins showed up on Martin. Now, to be fair, Derek Fox never publicly attacked Martin over it. In fact,
I don't fault him for that.
He later said it might have actually helped him avoid being typecast into one character forever. But still, it raises questions. Was Sheneneh inspired by something Martin saw? Or was it just one of those situations where great comedians think alike? Either way, the character went on to become one of the most unforgettable parts of the entire show. Not all drama on Martin stayed on set. Some of it got very real, very fast. Garrett Morris, who played Stan, the radio station owner, was a reoccurring presence early in the show. Then one day, he was shot in real life.
I was shot, yes. I was shot. Some people trying to rob me. And
not part of the script, not some publicity stunt. Real shooting, a real hospital stay, the kind of situation that changes everything. And at that time, Martin actually spoke publicly about it, saying how worried he was, how much he cared about his co-star. But according to Garrett Morris, that support never showed up in private. No phone calls, no visits.
Martin decided to fire me.
No check-ins while he was recovering. And when he was finally ready to come back, he found out his character had already been written out of the show.
Stan sells the radio station and moves to China. Does that mean I'm out of the show? She says.
No conversation, no build-up, just gone. Understandably, Morris was furious. From his perspective, he went from being a part of the cast to being completely cut off, right after a life-threatening moment. And decades later, the tension never fully healed.
It actually made me madder and angrier.
When the cast reunited years later, guess who wasn't there? Stan. Everybody remembers the joke. Tommy ain't got no job. It became one of the most quoted lines of the entire show.
You know everything about me, man. Correction, brother. No, I don't. Tommy, I don't even know what the hell you do for a living, man. Stop it, okay? Stop it!
But here's the part people don't know. It actually came from a real complaint. Tommy Michael Ford, the actor who played Tommy, started noticing something early on. His character didn't have any real identity, no backstory, no clear career, no explanation for how he was living the way he was living.
Whoa. That's a hell of a knot you got there, Tommy. What'd you get? Oh, come on, Martin. You know how I do.
And fans started to notice too. So he went up to the writers and basically said, yo, what does Tommy actually do? And instead of fixing it, they leaned all the way into it. They turned his frustration into a punchline. From that point, every time it came up, Tommy would dodge the question, change the subject, or get defensive. And the mystery just kept growing. At first, Ford wasn't a fan of it. He felt like it made his character look bad, like it was playing into a stereotype or something.
You ain't got no job, man.
But over time, he embraced it, and that one complaint turned into one of the most iconic running jokes in sitcom history.
But Tommy did really have a job.
So after years of jokes, people are asking the same question. What does Tommy actually do? And here's why you clicked on this video. Turns out, he had a job the entire time.
Okay, so it's in that episode. Okay. That's the first time you hear about Tommy's job.
No, seriously. The answer was there from the beginning, and most people just missed it. Years later, Tisha Campbell finally cleared it up in an interview and gave hints tied to an early episode.
The time you see Tommy's job is in the episode, Christmas episode, when he brings us to speak to children.
If you go back to season 1, there's a small detail that slips right past you. Tommy wasn't unemployed.
A counselor at the Boys and Girls Club. Oh.
No secret agent, no hidden billionaire, no drug dealer, no double life. Just a regular job that nobody paid attention to. And somehow, that made the joke even better. Because while everybody was laughing and speculating for years, the truth was sitting there the whole time. Hidden. At one point, Pam was almost the next breakout star for Martin.
I can't wait to get home to you. I got so much work to do.
In the final season, there was an episode called Going for Mine. But here's the thing. The episode wasn't really about Martin. It was a test, a backdoor pilot for a Pam-centered spinoff. You start to see her character shift, new storylines, a love interest, and a world that doesn't revolve around Martin and Gina. They were clearly setting her up for something bigger, even bringing in a young Tyrese Gibson before he became a star. Everything was in place, but the show never got picked up. And here's where things get interesting. And around the same time, the tension between Martin and Gina behind the scenes was at its worst. They weren't filming together. The energy on set had changed. The show felt split. So it makes you wonder, were the writers and producer already preparing for it? Was a spin-off a backup plan? A way to move forward without depending on the core dynamic that built the show? Even with the title, Going for Mine, feels like it was saying something. Like Pam stepping out on her own, separate from everything falling apart around her. We'll never know for sure, but looking back, it doesn't feel like a coincidence. The chemistry between Gina and Pam wasn't acting. That was real. Tisha Campbell and Tashina Arnold had been close long before Martin had ever started. They met as strangers trying to break into the industry. They built a real friendship that carried into adulthood. Their story actually goes way back to the Little Shop of Horrors in the mid-'80s. Both of them were a part of the production, young, hungry, and trying to find a place in the industry. They weren't stars yet. They were background performers, backup singers, putting in the kind of work that most people never see. That's where they met. That's where their friendship started. Before the fame, before television, before Martin. They were already grinding side by side. By the time Martin came around, they weren't just real cool. They were roommates. So when Tisha got the role as Gina, she didn't come alone. She brought her real-life best friend with her. That's how Tashina Arnold became Pam. And if you watch their scenes back, you could feel it. The jokes hit different. The arguments felt real. Even in the way they supported each other. It was natural. Because it wasn't forced. It was already there. And what's even better is the friendship didn't end with Martin. Later on, they linked back up on Everybody Hates Chris. Still working together, still showing that same connection. Real friends. And in an industry where relationships come and go, they kept showing up for each other. Here's one I know you definitely didn't know. Martin wasn't just funny, it was layered. And if you weren't paying close attention, you probably missed this completely. In season 2, the writers slipped in a quiet tribute to one of the biggest icons in music history, Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. But they didn't announce it. They didn't make it obvious. They hid it in episode titles. Names like Working Day and Night, Beat It, or even a play on Billie Jean's, Really, Gina is Not My Lover. At first glance, that sounds like regular sitcom titles. But once you catch it, you'll realize it's intentional. A full season sprinkled with references to Jackson's classics. It's one of those details that went over most people's heads, because nobody was tuning in to read episode titles. They were there for the jokes. But behind the scenes, the writers were paying homage to one of the greatest musician legacies of all time.
You know my sales slogan. You want it, I got it. If I ain't got 'em, to get it. So get it while the getting's good.
Before the movies, before Saturday Night Live, Before 30 Rock, Tracy Morgan was just Hustleman. The fast-talking street hustler that can get you anything. Bootleg movies, random products, stuff you didn't even ask for. If I ain't got it, I'll get it. And at the time, he wasn't a household name yet. This was one of his first real breaks on television, and Martin gave him the space to be unpredictable.
At the FX up front, and I'm tearing not because I feel sad, because I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because I know this opportunity came about, and this man named Martin Lawrence gave me a shot.
Loud, wild, off the wall. The same energy that would later define his entire career. What started off as a small reoccurring role ended up introducing him to millions of people, and Tracy Morgan never forgot it. He said multiple times that Martin was one of the first platforms that really put him on.
But Martin, he let me eat at his table. And it wasn't because he liked me, it's because he thought I was funny.
The place where people finally saw him for what he can do. Hustleman wasn't just a funny side character. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Sometimes it's the smallest details that makes the character unforgettable. Reggie Ballard's bruh man lived on the 5th floor, but every time he introduced himself, he held up only 4 fingers.
Bruh man, upstairs 5th floor.
Not a mistake, not a flub. It was a deliberate running gag. The writers loved the subtle wrongness, the character who was confident but slightly off. Fan noticed immediately. The 4-finger wave became bruh man's signature. More memorable than his clothes, more recognizable than his schemes. A lesser actor might have corrected it or played it straight. Ballard leaned into it, made it the joke, and cemented a small gesture into sitcom history. And sometimes the funniest things are the tiniest details. In 1996, something wild happened on the Martin set. Jackie Chan appeared on the show, playing himself as Sheneneh's boyfriend. At the time, Chan was already a superstar in Asia, but in America, most viewers had no idea who he was. And he wasn't just showing off his martial arts skills. He was proving he could hold his own in comedy, even going toe-to-toe with Martin and the infamous Sheneneh character. And it worked. The chemistry was real, the laughs were real, and the audience had no idea that they were watching history in the making. Now here's the kicker. After the episode, Jackie Chan personally invited Martin Lawrence to co-star in what would become Rush Hour.
Then we had a dinner.
Then you had a dinner.
Then we had a dinner at Mr. Child's.
Oh, okay, so you took...
They even had a dinner to discuss it, but Martin said no.
But
the reason?
They didn't have enough money for me.
Money. Rush Hour went on to become a massive franchise, but Martin said he had no regrets.
No, I was happy for Chris. I was like, wow, that's what it was supposed to be, Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan.
He was happy for Jackie, and happy for the choices that he made at the time. It's one of those crazy what-if moments in TV and movie history. At the peak of Martin's success, Martin Lawrence's personal life made headlines all for the wrong reasons. In May 1996, Martin was arrested in Los Angeles. Witnesses saw him standing in the middle of a busy intersection during rush hour, screaming at cars and carrying a loaded handgun.
Went out in the street and I was walking and something said, run real fast right now.
Police described him as erratic and uncooperative. He was taken by ambulance to a hospital, and his publicist blamed exhaustion, dehydration, and missed medication. 3 months later, it happened again. This time at the Burbank airport, after security found a loaded 9mm Beretta in his suitcase. Martin claimed he did not know that the guns weren't allowed on flights, but nobody really believed him.
Nah, I was high as a motherfucker, y'all. I was high as shit. I was smoking that, ew, wait. Oh,
he pleaded no contest, received 2 years probation, 100 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling. Meanwhile, the Martin Show kept millions laughing every Thursday night. The contrast couldn't have been starker. The comedian bringing joy to homes across America was struggling under the weight of fame, stress, and personal issues. 1996 was the year that proved being Martin Lawrence was heavier than anyone realized. What made Martin feel different from every other sitcom wasn't the jokes. It was how the jokes were made. Martin Lawrence came from stand-up, where the moment, the crowd, and the energy drives the performance. He brought that same mentality to the show. Scripts were guidelines, not gospel. Writers created story structures and beats, but once cameras rolled, Martin had creative freedom. He riffed lines. He twisted scenes into new directions. He forced co-stars to think on their feet, keeping every take fresh. And the cast learned to yes and. a classic improv technique. They reacted, adapted, and elevated the chaos.
Cole, you stupid.
And that's why Martin had an energy you couldn't manufacture in a studio. The funniest moments often weren't written. They were discovered in real time. 5 seasons, 132 episodes, one of the most unpredictable, funniest, and beloved sitcoms ever made.
Look, Martin, look, it was a joke, man. Well, then joke on out here. Let's go out.